Imagine this for a moment. You're sitting at home late in the evening, maybe watching TV, maybe just relaxing after a long day. Your dog is somewhere nearby, lying quietly on the floor or wandering from room to room the way it always does. Everything feels calm and ordinary. Then suddenly, someone unfamiliar walks up to the door. Before you even have time to react, your dog changes. Its ears lift, its body stiffens. It might bark. It might step closer to you. Sometimes, it even moves directly between you and the door, as if placing itself in the path of whatever is outside. Most people see a moment like this and think something simple: my dog is loyal. And in many ways, that's true. But the real reason dogs sometimes try to protect their owners is more complex than simple loyalty. Dogs don't experience a household the same way humans do. To them, the people they live with often feel less like separate individuals and more like members of a small social group, something surprisingly similar to the packs their ancestors once lived in. And once you start looking at dog behavior through that lens, many of their protective instincts begin to make far more sense. One big reason dogs try to protect their owners comes from something very old in their behavior: pack instinct. Long before dogs lived with humans, their ancestors survived by living together in groups. Wolves, for example, depend on the pack to survive. In that kind of group, members watch out for each other. They protect the leader, they protect the younger ones, and they react quickly when something feels like a threat. Even though dogs live in homes now, that instinct never fully disappeared. It simply adapted to a different environment. Instead of a wolf pack, many dogs begin to see the human family as their social group. Inside that group, the owner often becomes the center of stability, the individual the dog pays the most attention to. Children may appear as the smallest members, the ones that seem more vulnerable. And when something unusual happens, the dog may respond in a way that looks very similar to what its ancestors once did in the wild. It watches. It listens. And when something feels wrong, it steps forward. Because of this instinct, when a dog senses something unusual like a stranger approaching the house, it may react immediately. Sometimes it barks. Sometimes it stands closer to its owner. Sometimes it places itself between the family and the unfamiliar person. Animal behavior researcher John Bradshaw also explains this idea in his book Dog Sense 2011, suggesting that many dogs naturally treat the household they live in as their social group, very similar to a pack. So when a dog acts protective, it is often not just training. In many cases, it is an old instinct that has simply found a new pack to protect. Another important reason dogs protect their owners comes from emotional bonding. Over time, dogs form deep emotional connections with the people they live with. They do not simply see humans as the ones who feed them. Through daily interaction playing together, making eye contact, physical touch, and shared routines, dogs gradually develop a strong attachment to their family. Scientific research suggests that this bond is not only emotional, but also biological. When dogs and humans interact, especially through eye contact or affection, both bodies release a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is often referred to as the bonding hormone because it plays a major role in relationships between parents and children. Remarkably, studies have found that the same chemical response also appears during positive interactions between dogs and humans. This means the connection between a dog and its owner is not simply learned behavior. It is something deeper, something built into the brain itself. Because of this connection, dogs can sometimes become especially protective of the most vulnerable members of the household, such as babies or young children. A real-life example of this behavior can be seen in everyday situations. In one widely shared home security video, a young child is playing in the yard when another unfamiliar dog suddenly runs toward him. Within seconds, the family dog reacts. It rushes forward and positions itself directly between the child and the approaching dog. It does not attack immediately. Instead, it stands alert, blocking the path and watching carefully. In that moment, the dog is doing something very simple, protecting a member of its pack. Moments like this illustrate how dogs often treat the human family as their social group. Within that group, children may appear as smaller or more vulnerable members who need protection. As a result, The dog's response is not simply trained behavior. It is often a combination of emotional attachment, social instinct, and the biological bonding that develops between dogs and the humans they live with. In many households, this connection becomes one of the strongest relationships in the family, one built on trust, companionship, and a deep sense of loyalty. Another important element behind protective behavior is territorial instinct. Like many animals, dogs have a natural awareness of space and territory. The home environment, especially the places where a dog regularly eats, sleeps, and spends time with its owner, gradually becomes a familiar and meaningful space. Over time, that space becomes more than just a location. It becomes the center of the dog's daily life. When a stranger suddenly enters that environment, the dog may interpret the situation as a possible threat. This is why many dogs begin barking when someone approaches the door, walks through the gate, or steps into the yard. In most cases, the barking is not an immediate act of aggression. It is a warning. In simple terms, the dog is signaling that something unfamiliar has entered its territory. This kind of reaction is a basic defensive behavior that has helped animals survive for thousands of years. Guarding space, reacting to unfamiliar movement, and alerting others in the group are all part of instinctive survival strategies seen across many species. When this territorial instinct combines with the emotional bond dogs form with their owners, the response can become even stronger. In that moment, the dog is not simply protecting a place, it is protecting the people inside that place. That is why many dogs bark louder, become more attentive, or move closer to their owners when someone unfamiliar approaches the home. From the dog's perspective, the house is not just a building. It is the center of its world. It is where the pack lives, where the dog eats, where it rests, and where it feels safe. So when something unfamiliar enters that space, the dog's instincts naturally push it to respond. Sometimes the reaction is only barking. Sometimes it is quietly standing guard near the door. But in either case, the message is usually the same. The dog is watching the territory and protecting the pack that lives inside it. So, the next time your dog barks when someone approaches the door, or quietly steps closer to you when something unfamiliar appears, it may be worth looking at that moment a little differently. At first glance, it can seem like simple loyalty, a dog protecting its owner. But underneath that reaction, several instincts are working together at the same time. Part of it comes from ancient pack behavior that has been carried forward from the dog's wild ancestors. Part of it comes from the deep emotional bond dogs form with the people they live with. And part of it comes from a natural instinct to protect the space they know as home. Over thousands of years, dogs gradually adapted to living beside humans. They learned to share our homes, follow our routines, and respond to the world around us. Somewhere along that long history, something remarkable happened. Humans stopped being just another species to them. We became part of their social group, their pack. That is why the most meaningful moments are often very quiet ones. It might be a dog sitting near the door when someone knocks. It might be the way it positions itself beside you when a stranger enters the room. These moments may seem small, but they reveal something important about the relationship between dogs and humans. Because in that moment, the dog is not simply guarding a house. It is watching over the people it now considers its family.